Thank you. Thank you so much. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. Fresh Look Africa. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you. All right. So can I go ahead?
You're welcome. You're welcome. I hope that I got your name correctly.
Yes, you did. Oreaje-Ogbori, yes.
Okay, good.
Right.
Okay, all right then. Okay, so yes, let's jump right into the topic of talking about solving the issues of the out of school children.
Okay.
So first of all, I want to quickly ask, so this issue of out of school children, how exactly did we get to this point of having children that are out of school? You know, there was a time when, when my parents talk about, or there was a time where there was free education, which was actually free, that they didn't have to pay for anything. And then we're at a point where children cannot afford to go to school for several reasons, traditional, religious, financial, and all of that. How did we get to this point where we have children who aren't able to get an education?
Well, for me, I mean, that's a question that we all have to answer as a people. And I don't think it has to do with just the government, because I would have quickly said, oh, maybe the priority of our government seems to be different, and the focus of our leaders are not, specifically the way it probably was at that time during our fathers. I remember my father talking to us about going to grammar school on scholarship, and they all had a lot of free facilities. Even healthcare was not what it is today. However, it is what it is already. I mean, so we wouldn't have to fold our hands, and say, okay, out of school children are out there and we're living our lives and everything is fine. Because at the end of the day, it will still fall back to us as individuals. These children, they're on the streets, they're picking up things, nobody really cares. If nobody really cares, actually, they'll turn out to become adults, that are disgruntled, and there'll be so many vices. So community development is about everybody. It's about you and I looking inward and also looking outward to see what can I contribute as a person. What can I do, to make my own little changes, to what is happening in our nation and in other communities. So it starts with each person reaching another person. There's somebody close to you somewhere, there is a parent out there shouting out, and I mean, calling out for help, and they're unable to to help their children through school. So I would say the problem is already there. How we got here, well, we'll answer that in history. But again, where are we going? That's actually what really matters. Where do we want to go? This is 2021, and 2020 met us, with a different kind of rush. That a lot of things had to happen really fast. Even the educational sector, it shook, everyone in a way, like, okay, it is time to embrace, the 21st century kind of education. It's time to go online. And whether you like it or not, every school is now adapting. So are you now telling me that, okay, those children out there are also not going to take advantage of this? Certainly no. So the future is now, really. So the future has come. So we all have to embrace it. Thank you.
Okay. All right then. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to just pick up from where you left off. In yesterday's session, one of the speakers said that all of us are stakeholders in the education system. It's not just the educators alone, which I agree with. We all have a responsibility to play, and which you've also touched on. So how do we get these children back in the classrooms? How do we ensure that we work together to ensure that we don't have children roaming on the streets, but they are in the classrooms when others are in the classrooms as well? How do we bring them back into the classrooms? What do we need to do? What do we need to put in place?
So for me personally, I actually started off not as an educator. I just started off as somebody that just wanted to drive change, and looking out to see how can I contribute my own quota. I mean, this is the situation on ground, and I thought that, okay, what can we do? How many of my friends can I reach? Excuse me. So I believe it is a collective responsibility. It's a collective responsibility because, we have something to offer. We all have something to offer. I understand that, okay, paying, some are for some of these children live with their parents, some are orphans, but the general truth is that a lot of them are underprivileged. They probably live in communities that are disadvantaged, and the kind of situation around, status quo in the country and amongst youth right now, somehow education is being de-emphasized, because someone will tell you that, okay, this happened, and that's how they call it, you go blow, the way people blow now. It's not education. Education doesn't make you just blow like that, So kind of, there's kind of a bit of mental shift from education to how else can we make it? Those days were like, okay, you want to be a medical doctor, do you want to be a lawyer, do you want to be this, but now they're saying, look, I want to do music. Music is good, by the way. It's good, by the way, but again, we need to go back, to the drawing board, as a nation, and also even as parents generally, to say, okay, where have we missed it? What exactly is education doing for these children? Education makes us to think better as humans, help us to be able to navigate our course in life and apply our knowledge to the field of our field of interest. That actually set us kind of, we differentiate everyone, from the others. So going back to your question to say, what can we all do, right? Everybody has something to offer. When we started off Help for School Foundation, we're just enthusiasts. I actually wanted to just shoot photography at that time, and I was on a course. So the idea was, okay, can we just show, depict education in photograph, and like look at the two sides of education? Can we say, where are we doing well? Can we tell a story and show the other side of education, the better parts, and the worst parts? And by the time we started doing our research, and I just asked a question, I'm like, okay, is there any school? Can we show a really beautiful school? Let's even look at structure. Can we actually find beautiful schools? Yes, a lot of beautiful schools. Okay, do we have schools that are not doing so well, that probably have really bad kind of structures? I started asking questions. And by the time, I went around to look at it, when they described a particular school to me, I was like, it can never be. You mean that is a school? So I went to that community myself and I looked at the structure. I was like, this can never be a school. This actually looks like a poultry. Do you mean children actually stay here to learn? And that was the case. Children were actually, sitting in a totally, using the word dilapidated is even really small. Like it was just a structure with planks, with nets everywhere. The seats were just really bad. The boards were worn out. It touched my heart. Then I thought to myself, okay, we could take good photographs and then we'll go back we'll go back on the course and then we'll be applauded for taking photographs. But are we just going to tell the story and that's the end of it? But of course, the thoughts kept bringing on in my mind, and I shared the idea with a few people. And I said, yes, we can do something about this school. We can do something about this school. We can shine some light in here. And then from 1 to 2, we kept gathering money together, calling out to donors, and gradually we're able to render little changes, like changing the furnitures, like introducing, we even went to the extent of introducing their first computer system. Some of them never saw a computer when we spoke about computers and the likes of it. So they are just little drop of ocean that can cause big changes. And one beautiful thing about that school, and that was one of the things that caught my interest at that time. They had, even within that community of poor people, they still understood that there was a challenge in making payments. Their school fee at the time was 100 naira. But that 100 naira was a daily fee. So the proprietress at that time could say, okay, pay your 100 naira. Okay, so you feel by the time you're able to pay 100 naira to a parent, you know, nobody is holding you the next day if you're unable to pay. But you still feel like my children are in school now. After all, okay, they'll go 2 days, you know, in a week. If they can't go if I can't go for the entire 5 days, they go 2 days, 200 naira. You know, so there was this flexible payment plan, and I felt that was really beautiful. I mean, thinking about it and like, okay, you're making a flexible payment plan for people within this community, and we thought that okay, we needed to do something to help them. So our first dream was a very lofty idea, like, okay, let's build another structure. Let's pull down this structure and build, you know, a very beautiful school for them and all of that. But like, that was the dream. And sincerely, that was what we were yearning for. You know, we thought it was going to be cool. Let's do that. We kept calling and calling. By the time we gathered money, you know, and we're looking at the bill that we're given from the guys that are trying to help us build a structure, at that time was about 60 million naira. And when we went 1 month, 2 months, we're still looking at just 200K in your account. Like, God, when will this dream become true? 200K. I'm talking about 16 million. What's going to happen? You know, then thankfully, there was a mentor who now said, for me, look, I know you want to do this. It shows you have this passion. But why don't you break down your goals? Small goals. Let's reach little milestone, you know. And I had this freedom in my spirit. I got this peace in my spirit at that time. Like, okay, yes, little milestone. Let's set it. By the time we reach this milestone, we're like, oh yeah, we got this. Okay, so what are their needs? So we sat down and we drew up that kind of roadmap to say, okay, they have. This is the need, the first need, the second need. What can we easily do? And that was how we started experiencing growth. You know, we had friends come on board, you know, to contribute money to at least pay the fee. They were never able to pay a full-term fee. They used to pay daily. So for the first time, can we pay a term fee? Right? A term fee was less than 5,000 naira. So with 5,000 naira, you're able to create a change in the life of a child, right? So we paid fee ahead of time, and that was amazing. The parents were excited because they knew they had to hustle to pay those fees. They were fishermen, you know, they were traders, so some of them had many children. So you can imagine when they have to do this for all their kids. So we started up to help them. So that was how we started with the name Help for School, actually, Help for School, because we're helping children to remain in school, rendering whatever kind of help we could render, you know, to ensure that education still continues in that underprivileged community, you know. And since then, it's been one step to the other. We've had donors. I mean, we've had some individuals and organizations come to say, oh, what can we do? You know, we've had people say, okay, we distributed laptops, you know, some months ago, so they are able to now, you know, use the systems for the very first time. You know, there are times where, you know, we Rotary Club, we had Rotary Club on board. Hey, sorry, they're taking the light. This is Nigeria. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I think we can still see you.
I'm so sorry. Oh God.
It's all right.
Okay, so yes, so that continued that way, and we got Rotary Club come on board with books for those children. Please go back, you know, for those children, and it's been amazing. So I'm sharing my own story to say that there is something you can do. We don't all have to start an NGO or start a foundation to, you know, render some kind of help to these children. But I tell you, 100 naira. That 100 naira fee is making a difference. 500 is making a difference on our project, you know, and we want to do more, and we know that we'll be able to take it one step after the other, you know, to make that change actually come to fruition by the grace of God.
All right. Wow. Thank you so much for that, for sharing your story. You know, I always like to learn from other people's experiences. Now, you shared your story. How do you think that we need more independent bodies to partner up with the government, or how exactly can we bring that whole partnership full circle so that, the government has their own part to play, individuals have their own part to play, independent bodies have their own part to play. How do you think that can work to get these children back into the classrooms?
I believe that yes, the government do have their own part to play. You know, um, for instance, during the lockdown, right, a lot of children went back to school online. Schooling was basically online. But for us dealing with children in underprivileged community, that was not the priority. The priority at that time was palliative. Why? Because their parents were at home. They couldn't run their normal businesses. They were home basically. But then you can't tell someone that is hungry and say, okay, come and start using the internet to learn. They will never understand. I mean, wasn't their priority in any way. So that gap between the privilege and the underprivileged was really wide at that time. So what the government tried to do, I applaud them, I'm sure they're still trying to think through and find a better solution, was to introduce some kind of learning via radios, where they can learn. But again, you tell your child, okay, sit down and listen to this radio program. So how many of them, how can you really assess that learning is taking place? So feedback mechanism isn't part of what the radio would provide. So there's such kind of the kind of real time that we're doing right now. We're learning. There's feedback. I can tell, okay, if you're listening, kind of we can hear each other. It's not what they are, what is applicable for those children. So they had to find ways to probably teach themselves, teach the children themselves at home. The parents trying to teach them themselves with the books. From our own project, we had books from Rotary Club. So some of them said they were using those books to actually just make them run some assignment from home. But we can't tell if that's actually the case, but they encourage us to say, oh, we are trying our best, all right? But then this is not something that just the government could do. Recently, I heard about a particular foundation or an NGO that is working. I mean, I think they're just coming into Africa, but they had they said I've not seen the device anyway, but they have a device that will take minimum data, and it's inexpensive. That children will be able to learn on their platform on the device. So if such application would come in, well, I'm not sure how much the entry cost would be, but then, are they going to be affordable, for the kind of class of people we are talking about? So if they are not affordable, yes, we need, there are a lot of CSR going on. I think most companies do have their CSR, they do that probably every year. So these are the kind of areas that we should look out for. We should look at, for CSR. Companies run other kind of programs yearly, and some of them spend tons of millions, running those kind of programs. Can we turn the priorities right? How, I'm thinking if they can channel that effort into doing something that is educational, something that will last in the hearts of these children, it will be way better, than some programs that they run. So if organizations would work with NGOs, and work with top leaders that are in the educational sector, and listen to what we have to offer, it will definitely go a long way. It will go a long way, to solve some of these problems. So those are the thoughts I have right now.
Okay. Okay, great. So I have another question for you, but it's going to be a two-part type of question. Now, have you been in a situation with your foundation, Help for School Foundation? Have you been in a situation where maybe you reach out to a body or an organization, and then you have to prove that you are actually doing what you said that you will do? Now, I'm asking this question as a follow-up to another question, which is how, for instance, I want to give my own quota to an existing organization or NGO, to support the educational system. How can I tell that, okay, this is a bona fide organization or it's a scam? Because say, for instance, I don't get to meet them, it's via maybe calls, or I engage them via their social media pages, how can we differentiate the one that is bona fide and the one that is a scam?
Okay, I think for that question, the government actually made it easier. Sort of, the government has made it easier. I say this because there are some processes, that are already in place, for NGOs to run an NGO in the country. So first of all, it's like registering, to be recognized, as a legal NGO in Nigeria. And another step is that, there's something about the banking. I think that they're working hand in hand with the banks to actually tidy this up. So there's a certificate that an NGO should have that is called SCOM or so. It has to be EFCC. So sometimes, all this information are asked. However, for Health for School Foundation, really, we haven't reached out to organizations yet. Not because we are not not because we don't know what to do actually, but I actually believe in some kind of structure. Okay, we started with being Bunmi's idea, Bunmi's dream, and all of that, and we have a team of people that are interested and volunteers. However, running an NGO, especially in Nigeria, you have people come on board to say, "Oh, let's do this, let's take this." No, I don't want that to happen. I want this structure. We're actually building a structure. It may take more time, however, but then it will last. That's my own personal opinion. It will make it last than rushing, to just, ask, people for money. People come to us to say, I want to donate. That's beautiful. And I said, I would like to help for School Foundation. It's probably God's grace. Even when I'm not ready to push things, I get people come around and say, Bunmi, this is what I heard about your school program. What can we do? Okay, but again, part of the reason why this is happening is because we share our story. We talk about it online. We share how it all started. So a lot of people have followed the growth. At that time, when it was just from a photography course, and the rest of it, they knew it wasn't an NGO at that time. But then again, the friends and the friends and interested parties are the ones who say, oh, this thing is great. Why don't you make it an NGO so that we can actually access, you can access more fund and help these children. So we went to that level, But again, I would like to say that fraud can easily be played within NGO system when it's just money coming in from everywhere. No, but because this is a project that I want to see work well. I want to see well structured. We don't want to rush the game. So we have never written to any donor agency to say, give us money for this project, right? Or we are doing this. We are doing the work. So by the time they reach out to us, some people some friends took our story to the newspapers, and then people reach out to say, oh, we heard this story. Can you tell us more? Or invited me to come and talk about Help for School Foundation, and then they are interested in doing what part of what we're doing. But again, not because I'm not excited to push it to that level, but I'm saying the structure we need that structure. But for the sake of anyone that is running an NGO and is interested in knowing how to build, their structures, I would say this: don't be discouraged and say because they are not registered, you can't do some work. But people will feel your passion, right? They will trust you, and it starts from people that know you, friends and family. They know you and they know that, okay, this thing, you are passionate about it. And if you really are passionate about it and you're putting in the work and you're talking about it, their interest will grow, and you keep sharing the story until you have you find the right time to actually register it as a full-fledged foundation. But start from where you are. And when it is a foundation, you don't want to be that foundation that was just around for just 1 year and then it has all packed off. No, structures have to be well defined so that the foundation can live the test of time. It's not about the founder, there are going to be executive directors and the likes of it, running things in that organization. So I'm happy that we're moving at the pace that we're moving, but we are getting more clarity. Okay, so apart from the activities we have run in paying school fees for children, paying school fees for helping the parents pay their fees, after the lockdown, and then we all started off again. Life is already back again. Everybody's doing their own thing. we thought that, okay, this parent, we've been paying fees for them. Why don't we help them to become more financially viable? Okay, and at that time, we started a skill acquisition program, right, in partnership with, one of our other businesses. And then we trained some of these women in pastry making skills. So we brought them in and we trained them on how to make pastries. So from seeing that again, like, oh, pastry making, some other friends reach out and say, look, how can we help these women to continue this business, right? And we came up with a program to actually give them a startup kit. So we organized startup kits for these women. So that includes, what they needed: sugar, butter, measuring tools, and all of that, oil to fry. And they have started businesses. Tell me, you will ask me, okay, how does school being health for school have to do with pastry and skill? But you see, all these things are interwoven. If the woman, is empowered and, she's able to support her child to school, we are still meeting that goal. So we all have to just look inward, right? Beyond what you can be giving from outside, there's something you have, okay? There's something you have that you can offer that's going to just make a difference. And I was happy to hear that they've started businesses. Some of them are already running their business, they are hawking and they are making money. So that's a little way of actually causing that change. And then 100 naira in a day would never be a problem to that kind of woman. Thank you.
All right. All right. So if you have questions for Bunmi, please use the Q&A section on the platform. We will take them after we are done. Thank you. Okay, so Bunmi, let's talk about social media. Using Help for School Foundation as a case study. How were you able to create awareness of what you were doing and then drive the change that you are campaigning for?
Okay, basically, do so much social media. Okay, yes, we tried. So basically, how we started our campaign, we took advantage of some opportunities. At that time, GT Bank had something to do. I can't remember exactly how it was coined then, and they wanted people to do a 1-minute pitch on your project. I think that was like a year ago, 2 years ago, and all of that. So we put together a 1-minute pitch and showed what we were going to do. But we weren't chosen to be part of the beneficiaries. But again, that didn't stop us because we started canvassing about the school and talking about the school before that came on board. But again, it pushed us to be able to create content, because we created some content and then we started pushing it online and clarity started coming because we took that step. Okay, so beyond the social media, we also had newspaper kind of feature that also brought us out. And all of this happened because of friends and volunteers, saying, okay, what can we do? So you never can, you may never know until you step out there. So it is not the work of just me coming to say this is Help for School Foundation. It was a joint effort. It was a teamwork. Other people had some access, that I didn't have, but because they felt, okay, they're interested in this thing, let's push it forward. I think that's how projects like this should work. It's a community project, so it is what a lot of people should come together to do. So yes, social media has helped us again in a way. I remember somebody tagging us to a post, and honestly, I don't even know this guy. He was a DJ or something. It was his birthday, and he just wanted his fans to pick some NGOs and tell him what to do or something like that some years ago. And some people tagged us and say, okay, this is what Help for School Foundation is doing. And, amazingly, they chose us. We're part of the group that they chose on that group. And then this one said, okay, I'm contributing money for the children. Okay, can you buy some decks? Can you buy this? So they listed out what they wanted us to do. So that's one way. And these are people we didn't know. Someone just reached out to us and said, okay, we saw your work. So putting the word out is good. Building content is good because that's the only way you can track what you've done so far. we are guilty anyway. We've not posted some content of what we've done last year, so we're going to still post those contents. Really, we are working on that. A lot happened, so but we didn't post a lot of other stuff last year, but we're still going back to post this content. I told you we're working on structure, because structure seems to be more important for us right now. So build that structure and everything will still work out seamlessly.
Okay, all right. This is a good time to drop your questions. If you have questions for Bunmi, please drop them in using the Q&A section on the platform. So Bunmi, because you are affiliated with a foundation, I want you to tell, for those of us that will probably want to volunteer with foundations like Movement or Foundation as well, what are the necessary tips or things that we need to put in place before we take that step?
Yeah, to volunteer with a foundation, probably you need to understand their vision. You need to understand, what's the aim of this foundation? How does it resonate with me? Because we all have our personal visions, we have our personal goals. What areas you think you have you have something, you probably would have some nudge in your spirit towards certain areas. So if those fall in line with what you think you want to do personally, you should offer your service, offer your time. You can volunteer either by giving your cash. You can volunteer your time, you can volunteer with your resources. That's just something everyone can do. So look out, understand, do some background check. Really do some background check, understand their vision, understand who is driving the foundation. What are their personal beliefs and goals? Are they actually meeting that aim? Are they saying they are doing A? Are they actually doing A, or is it B? Just do a little bit of background check so that you can be associating yourself with the right kind of people, at the end of the day. Because to make you happy and you feel fulfilled when your time is being used and you are seeing results, being part of that particular foundation.
Okay. Okay, so one more question before we end the session. Let's talk about, is it possible, or do you think, like you said you started off, you didn't start off in the education sector and you just sort of made a transition to it. Do you think that it is possible to separate your personal, how do I point this question? To separate your personal life or your other things, your career, from running a foundation? Do you think it's possible?
Well, okay, now let me say a little separating my career from my foundation. Yeah, the foundation is the foundation, really. The foundation is not Bunmi. That's why it's a registered entity. I only happen to be the founder of Help for School Foundation. Okay, there are two ways. I think sometimes people, a lot of founders probably still want to be the executive directors, still want to run things and all of that. I'm not holding that kind of, like, oh, I have to be the one involved in everything. Just that this is the stage we are in right now. So that's why, we're still growing. Okay, we want to see it grow, just beyond me, really. So I happen to be the founder. I happen to be the visionary at that time where Help for School Foundation started. However, growth has been basically growth started because I gave myself to it, right? So I wouldn't say that, okay, I wasn't trying to use my resources. So part of the resources I would say I have, or that have helped me, were part of who I am, really, the kind of career I have, right? So I was able to put all those things into making it work. For instance, I take for instance, right? I said we're into photography, right? When the whole idea came, okay? So, and I happen to be a content creator as well, right? I have a media company as well. So it's not possible that Help for School Foundation will have something doing and I will not be interested in ensuring that content is right, because that is part of what I do, Okay, so by the time we also I didn't want to go into all these details, but because of this question, I'll have to say this. Okay, so I have a confectionery, okay, cake made confectionery. Now, when it came to the point where, okay, it was beyond just giving money to women, and then there needed to be a next step, I also looked at what I have. Like, okay, bakers, I have this skill and all of that. Okay, let these women come into the bakery and let them get trained, right? So this is me, this is what I have, this is my career, these are the things that, privileges that God has given to me. So I'm using those privileges to affect what is happening in the foundation, right? I'm not trying to take the resources of the foundation into my business, but I'm looking at, okay, how can I also involve, my other businesses into doing something beneficial, to these stakeholders, to this foundation that we want to drive. Okay, I hope I'm being understood, right? So part of what it is, the foundation is a separate entity, right? Okay. However, because I am the founder and I'm the visionary, I want it to grow. It's still at that stage where we are growing. So I'm putting in my resources, the privileges I have, and the opportunities I have to ensure that things still work out the way it should.